Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian the Unskilled Commander, and this is Deck Break It Down, where I take one of my decks and go over it through Moxfield, showing you all the component pieces, and then I also kind of go over what the idea behind the deck was and why I chose some of those cards, what the theme was supposed to be, whether or not this deck works. I don't know. You can help decide on that depending on what you think the breakdown looks like. Of course, as always, do the whole spiel, blah blah, hit the subscribe, like, all that stuff if you wouldn't mind, because it does help, because I'm trying to get big enough to do better charity streams and raise money for Extra Life, along with other charities as well. But let's jump into the deck. So this is actually my Guildgates WinCon deck with Maze's End. The commander is Kodai Soul of Kamigawa, mainly because it's a 5-color commander. I needed 5 colors, and this was one that I didn't already have as a 5-color commander. Plus, I had this really awesome full art foil card from it from when I opened up packs, and I was like, this is perfect. Plus, if you read what Kodai actually does, when he enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Kodai. So the theory behind him is also that he's a great way to protect the land card Maze's End, which is the core of the win con within the deck, which you will find out a little bit later. I have yet to actually cast him because I always forget about him, and I never leave up enough mana to really use him as that instant speed protection because he does have flash. But let's go check out the actual deck itself. First up, we've only got 13 creatures because I was trying to really pare this down into making the Guildgate WinCon be the absolute focus. And after a lot of playtesting and playing with friends, I can actually say that the deck can win consistently on around turn 10. Sometimes even faster, sometimes even up to like turn 6 or 7 if I really get great cards in just the right order or get some good draw spells. But turn 8, 9, 10, 11, it should be winning. Now, it doesn't mean it always wins because people know the Guildgate WinCon and will stop it. Having said that, we have 13 creatures, things like Boreal Grazer. You can put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped when it enters. Azusa Lost But Seeking allows you to play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. Sakura Tribe Scout, you tap this creature and you can put a land card from your hand into play. Just lots of ways to try and get more lands on the field per turn. Then, one of the downsides of Guildgates is they come in tap, because they tap for one of 2 colors. So they come in and, oh, this taps for red or blue, or it taps for green or black, but they come in tap. So I've tried to put as many things in the deck that allow me to untap my lands, or just have them come in untapped, such as Archelios Lagoon Mystic, Irieth of the Healing House, Tiller Engine. All these kind of cards all say that when a land enters the battlefield, tapped under your control, you can untap it, or she says tap her, and you can untap a target permanent you control, or just target permanent, so you could tap down someone else's creatures or whatever. And for Lagoon Mystic, as long as it's tapped, other permanents enter the battlefield tapped, and when it's untapped, other permanents enter the battlefield untapped. That does affect your opponents too, so it can help them or hurt them depending. Maybe sometimes you actually need to just go ahead and swing with him against someone where they won't be able to kill him. All of your opponent's tokens on their token generating deck all come in tapped, which will help slow them down. It does help give you options. And of course, Benthic Druid is nice because when a land enters the battlefield, you can gain a life and draw a card, because, as I've said many times, card draw is paramount to a successful deck. Whatever you need, if you have a lot of card draw in your deck, you will get what you need. And ideally, you will get it faster than your opponents. Plus, the more cards you draw, the more you have in your hand, the more things you can play per turn, which also can help you win against your opponents. There's also a few creatures in here that are affected by gates. So we've got Gatebreaker Ram. It's +1/+1 for each gate you control, and as long as you have 2 or more gates, it has Vigilance and Trample. You can actually go swinging with this once you get 5 gates out, because it becomes a 7/7 with Vigilance and Trample. Conversely, we've got Gate Colossus, which costs 1 less to cast for each gate you control, and it's an 8/8. It doesn't have any super special abilities, but it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and you can return it to the top of your library from your graveyard whenever you play a gate once it gets destroyed. However, by the nature of the deck, we don't want to slow it down by putting the Gate Colossus back on top, most likely. Moving on to sorceries, I definitely went super heavy with the card draw, because again, I need to draw as many cards as possible so that I have all of the Guildgates in my hand, ideally having those creatures like Azusa so that I can play more lands per turn. So the sorcery section is about card draw and the few cards that allow you to go specifically look for gates or specifically look for a land, versus all of the cards that allow you to get basics like Kadama's Reach and Cultivate. Those aren't in here because I don't care about basics. I only run a couple in here just to fill out the necessary number of lands. But we've got Circuitous Route, gets basic lands or gate cards. Explore the Underdark gets you basic lands or gate cards, etc. Open the gates, get you gate cards, basic lands. Then you've got nice ones like Hour of Promise. You can go get 2 lands, period. They go onto the battlefield. Tempt with Discovery. Most people never respond to Tempt for Discovery. They'd say no, but it doesn't matter because I don't care about that. I just care about me getting a specific land. If someone else wants to use it, cool, okay, I'll get a couple extra Guildgates out of the deal. We also have a little protection for when they try and blow up certain lands. We've got Splendid Reclamation, so you can return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Moving on to Instants. Again, focused very heavily on this card draw with this one. It's pretty much all 6 instants are just card draw. So we do have artifacts at 16. Amulet of Vigor, incredibly important for this deck because, as I said, the Guildgates come in tapped. This is one of the best cards to allow you to have the card come in untapped. Then again, we have Conduit of Worlds and Crucible of Worlds, 2 more cards that allow you to get lands from your graveyard and bring them back. So when someone inevitably tries to blow up Maze's End, you hopefully have options to get it back. We have a few of your normal mana rocks like Soul Ring, of course, Decanter of Endless Water, Thought Vessel, but Thought Vessel and Decanter of Endless Water are in the deck because they say have no maximum hand size. And as you saw, we have so many draw spells, I want to be able to keep all those lands in my hand, not discard them. Marion Safe House is a fun one because as long as it's on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all land cards in graveyards, in all graveyards, so that's included your opponent. This way, if someone does blow up Maze's End, you can actually use Mirren Safe House as Maze's End. Norn's Annex, of course, is there for protection, try and slow people down from hitting you. Spellbook, no maximum hand size. We've also got Volcanic Key and Manifold Key, and those are in the deck because of the Millennium Calendar. The Millennium Calendar is the secondary win con of the deck. If someone successfully blows up Maze's End or a couple of the other lands I need, and I'm not getting Crucible of Worlds or Conduit of Worlds to get them back, I can just focus on dumping all of my mana into tapping and untapping the Millennium Calendar using the keys and try and hit that 1000 time counters and win the game that way. Also, we do have my one and only copy of the One Ring because, again, card draw. I'll be pinging myself and I'll be taking lots of damage because people will be swinging in knowing about as soon as you hit 4 or 5 Guildgates on the field and they know that's your win con, they're going to come swinging at you, which is why Norn's Annex is in here. Finally, we have enchantments, and again, along with that protection, we've got Ghostly Prison, Propaganda, all trying to slow down our opponents from attacking us so that we can get the Guildgates out. Also, more things for card draw, like Whirlwind of Thought. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. So every draw spell is a non-creature spell, so you get to draw just off of that. Nefarious Angel's Insight. Whenever you draw a card after your first one, you actually draw 2 instead. So now when you cast a spell that says, hey, I'm going to draw 2 cards, you draw 4. Guild Summit is a one tied to the guilds, or the gates themselves. Whenever a gate comes into the battlefield, you draw a card, so it helps keep you moving and chugging along with hopefully getting all of the lands you need. And then finally, we have the lands, which arguably are the most important aspect of this particular deck, more so than a normal deck, obviously, because you do need lands to play anything. But here, it's much more important to have all these different gates. There are only 22 gates within Magic the Gathering currently. Most of them came from the guild section, but then of course thankfully we got a bunch more from the Baldur's Gate set. Like always, most of them come in tapped. The newer ones tap for a specific color, and then you get to choose the other color as they come in, which is nice because that helps mana fix the deck as you're playing. And then some of the other gates just have fun effects that allow you to do stuff. The 2 most important cards for the win con are Gond Gate, because that says other gates you control enter the battlefield untapped. That helps you be able to play spells faster because now your lands aren't all coming in tapped, same as having Amulet of Vigor out. And then of course, the core, Maze's End. It does itself enter the battlefield tapped, and Maze's End is not a gate. Even if you have things like Gone Gate or something that says your gates don't come in tapped, that doesn't help Maze's End. You still need Amulet of Vigor or one of the creatures that helps untap things if you want to be able to play Maze's End quickly and or multiple times in a turn. But you can tap it for 1 mana for 1 colorless mana. But more importantly, you pay 3, tap it, return Maze's End to its owner's hand, then search your library for a gate card, put that card onto the battlefield, and shuffle your library. If you control 10 or more gates with different names, you win the game. So, idealistically speaking, you get Amulet of Vigor on the field and keep it there. Play your gates, play a bunch of ramp spells that allow you to get more, and draw spells that get a bunch of lands in your hand. Drop Azusa or somebody, play 3-4 lands a turn, and then get to the point where it's like, okay, I've got a lot of mana. I can now play Maze's End. It comes in untapped. I immediately activate it with 3 mana, bouncing it to my hand, finding another Guildgate. Play Maze's End for the second land for turn. 3 mana, bounce it, get another Guildgate. At that point, if you're doing that, you should be at like 9 or 10 gates when you start activating the multiple Maze's End. And even if you don't, even if you can only do it once, you still want to do it once per turn as quickly as you can to help get you going so that you can play a land for turn, activate Maze's End, now you got 2 gates on that turn. Obviously, next turn you have to play Maze's End, unless you have Guildgates in hand, but you gotta worry about someone wheeling your hand away and now it's in the graveyard. It's not a foolproof win con by any stretch, but it is fun. It's really fun when it goes off and you can win that way. The only downside is it's very telegraphed, because as soon as you play 3 or 4 gates in a row and no crazy creatures or whatever, people figure it out if you're not being upfront about, hey, this is my Maze's End Guildgate deck. Which you should be, because that's the whole point of turn 0 discussion. Someone else, hey, this is my token deck. If I get these 2 cards out, I make infinite tokens and I'm going to win the game. Well, this is my Maze's End. If I get get to 10 Guildgates and Maze's End out, I'm going to win the game. So I do get stopped quite a bit at the 8 Guildgates or more level, but it's still a really fun deck to play. I love it. It's one of my absolute favorites. Probably top 5. I believe it probably hits maybe the 5th one. So there you go. What do you think about my Maze's Guildgate WinCon deck? Are there any cards you think I'm missing that would be really great to speed the deck up and get more lands on the battlefield untapped? Let me know in the comments. I will see you next time.